ladies. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another Sunday night live toy chat stream with the host DavidWorldToys. Tonight, I have a special guest in the background where the guy actually makes his own toys for his own toy company, but he's also like a big mega collector as well. I've known this guy for ages, but I'll just let him introduce himself or what he's all about. Please help, please welcome in the chat. Nick, hi, evening, Nick.
Hello, how are we? Resisted
Good.
the temptation to go as it came on. But yeah, how you doing, Dave? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, dude. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. As I was saying to you earlier, I've been at Doncaster earlier today, the BP Fair in Doncaster, which was a joy to behold. So yes, it's been a long, long day. So
perfect. Just before we start on, just for the new viewers, what do you actually collect yourself? Because I know you collect and do other bits we'll talk about in a minute.
Me, what do I collect?
Yeah.
I collect, right, well, I obviously collect my own stuff because I'm a little bit narcissistic on that. I don't see the point in making a toy if I don't like it. So if I like what I make, I'm going to collect it, right? That's kind of my thing. In terms of other stuff, Thundercats. I collect Thundercats. I have a full run of the vintage Thundercats, which brings me an awful lot of joy.
Yes.
Really, really cool. I have... what else do I do? My thing at the moment, believe it or not, is actually Playmates Dick Tracy.
Whoa.
I have a real thing for Playmates toys. Playmates toys, just the aesthetic of them, I really, really like. And I've got a thing at the moment for Dick Tracy. So I kind of like that. I think, not to get into a whole, because it's a whole other thing, but like to kind of like I went to see Quantum Mania last night. Man of the Wasp. It's a good movie. It's a good movie, and of course, I liked Wakanda Forever before that. But I am feeling slight fatigue when it comes to Marvel and DC because there's so much of it. So I kind of find myself like reaching for other comic book stuff, which is very much influencing my collecting at the moment. So I kind of like, I've been reaching. I know people are going to say they're bad, but like Dick Tracy, the Shadow, the Rocketeer, the Phantom, that kind of stuff, Defenders of the Earth. So I keep looking for stuff that's not DC or Marvel. And that, as I say, in turn is making me hunt out those kind of figures from the Shadow and Dick Tracy Playmates and all that kind of stuff, which is just cool, So it's and realistically quite inexpensive at the moment. Anyway, I'm sure it'll rocket through the roof at some point. So
yeah, as soon as company reissue toys or reissue old toy lines or somebody famous talks about it, it goes right through the roof, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know you can. I'm never going to say that certain people are responsible for blah blah blah. But like, if somebody makes something look cool, I've joked about this with Theo that Theo did that mini doc on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which is just epic. It's an epic, and he did he filmed parts of it in Sherwood Forest and all this kind of stuff, and they went from being like a tenner carded to like 30 quid carded at the next toy fair because people were like, I gotta have Prince of Thieves now that and I'm kind of guilty of that myself. I look at it, I'm like, actually I wouldn't mind some Prince of Thieves in my collection because I had those when I was a kid. But yeah, you're right. Whenever somebody reissues something or whatever, I mean, I think in terms of reissues, I've got it's something else I do collect. I do collect the Star Wars retro, because they're just a real inexpensive way of having very pretty, minty Star Wars figures, which I kind of like.
A fraction of the price.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not going to spend God knows what on a minty Luke Farmboy or a minty, Vader, but I can have that.
Yes.
And other stuff just like I've got to take my hat off again to Playmates because of what they're doing with the turtles and the fact they're just kind of like they're just smashing through the turtles now. We did the 4, but now we're doing the what's it shell ones, and we're doing like Krang, and they're even getting into like Leatherhead and stuff over in the States, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know they got the giant turtles and that sort of stuff. I was hoping the Toy Fair would be on in America, the New York one, but they've moved the dates till like September this year, which is a bit weird.
Right. Okay.
But
yeah,
there
well,
you go.
Yeah, they've had to. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
just to let you know, we got Universal Toy Collector Stu's in the chat.
How you doing?
We got a guy called Ronaldo in Orlando, if I can remember rightly, and a few other old people saying hello to each other and that sort of stuff. So, but yes, it's like toy collecting is a bit daunting, isn't it? When there's so many lines out there and so many classic toys, it's ridiculous.
I think, unfortunately, again, it was something I was talking with a friend of mine about today, and unfortunately, it's anything that's vintage now, anything that's 80s, that's of any kind of anything that's half bit like, is now very expensive.
Yes,
you can get like what I call your primaries. So, like, if you're into Star Wars and you don't mind a beta, I'm hit for Cosgrove Hall news. I thought you okay. We will get there. I think the thing is that like, for example, you can get your primary, so you can get a beat up Lion-O, Panthro, Mumra, Tusker Warrior. You can get a beat up, He-Man, Skeletor, Mantenna, Man at Arms. You can get like your Vader with no cape. Your Ewoks and whatever. You can buy that kind of stuff fairly cheaply, but as soon as you get outside the realms of that, the same with like your boys and Shredder and if you don't mind getting Splinter completely naked, you can get him for like a $5.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get outside, sorry.
No, here's a quick question for you. I know with Playmates so releases so many more turtles. Do you think they'll ever release the last? I'd say the last 20. It's not like the last 19. Like you Scratch the Cat, Half Court, that sort of. Do you think they would release them?
Spot, Scale Tail. You mean the ones basically that everybody wants?
Basically the 1993 series.
Yeah, and I think it is. It's, if I remember right, it's like it's Sandstorm, Scale Tail. It's Half Court, Scratch the Cat, Hotspot. It's those guys, isn't it? Yeah, I gotta be honest. I think they actually will. I'm not 100% on it, but I to me it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
because there's it's like instant sellout. Those are things that people just they want, and they want them like yesterday. So whereas they're kind of doing like Leatherhead and stuff like that, they're great figures, but they're still quite easily. Hey, how you doing, man? They're still quite easily accessible.
Yeah.
So you can get like a Krang, you can get you can get a Krang, you can get a Shredder, you can get the boys. I mean, I saw a couple of tables that had some mock Hero Turtle, kind of like Raphael, Donatello, that kind of stuff. So they're easily obtainable. You can get those.
Yeah.
And I understand why they've started there. But it's like the Turtles wagon. I got my Turtles wagon at the NEC at Christmas from Dave Blade. Just that man's doing the Lord's work when it comes to toy collecting. So got to give a shout out to him because I paid like B&M price. I couldn't get one in B&M.
It's one of them collector things he's done, especially for collectors, because I know even a lot of us still can't find that turtle wagon.
Yeah.
And now it's like, for example, it's double or triple the price on eBay.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's like the Black Series helmet from Game is now 90 quid easy everywhere, but it's still £45 in Game.
Yeah, so I as I say, I did that and I got one of those because who's not going to get one of those just for that box art? It's just it's incredible. But yeah, I think if they've got the option to do it, I don't see why they wouldn't, because it's an instant market.
Yeah, I would almost release the right now, because of Playmates, what they're doing. I would almost release the Star Trek turtle figures they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Because Playmates are hot with them. The series is hot with Packard and everything else. It's crazy.
I can't see why they wouldn't do that. I genuinely can't. Oh well, good luck with that. Wow.
Yeah, good luck. I wouldn't, Stu. Trust me, there's that many.
Those are deep holes, deep rabbit holes to go down. Yeah, I think obviously when it comes to those figures, I mean, they could piss everybody off and kind of like go, we're going to release like Scratch and Hotspot as San Diego exclusives or something, and that would really annoy everybody. But Playmates don't tend to do that.
No,
they don't seem.
I wouldn't. Perfectly honest, I wouldn't mind if they did a San Diego for them full figures to keep the value on the old one. Yeah, and because the old ones keep the old value, and the San Diegos, even to this day, every San Diego's keep going up in price.
Yeah.
So to keep the value on these, like the big four, would you say Scratch, Half Court,
Hotspot,
and would be the four.
Either Sandstorm or either Sandstorm or Scaletail. One of the two,
yeah.
I would say.
You'd almost do like a 4 or 6 a box set of them.
You could, yeah, you could. Maybe
for San Diego, and that's the way to keep the value on the old ones as well up. That's the way I'd.
Well, of course, you've got the Shoguns as well.
Yes,
there's the Shoguns as well, isn't there? And and that's another. And then there's of course it's the Dino Turtles, isn't there, with their dinosaurs, which is another thing. Completely.
They did that many turtles from 88 all the way up to 97. It was unreal.
I think that again, the whole thing with that is that it was such a I can completely understand why there were so many, because of I mean, the Universal Monsters turtles are amazing, and I think this, when you've got a property that's that good and it's that popular, why wouldn't you keep making toys?
Yeah,
that's my thing on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they were really something. They were. I mean, to be honest, I've moved them all on now. They're all they've all moved on now, because I kind of went into them after Thundercats. But Tiger Sharks are beautiful, and I had 3 out of the 8. But I came to the conclusion that I had no nostalgic attachment to them.
Yeah.
And it was going to cost me thousands to finish that run, and there's only 5 figures that I didn't have. So I was like, well, I'm not going to sit there and pay out a ridiculous amount of money for those figures, because that's just ludicrous. And Silverhawks again is wonderful. Silverhawks is a great line of figures. I love the original ones. I love the Kenner ones, but they just, to me, they're slightly out of place.
Yes.
It's like this weird scenario where it's like LJN on Thundercats, then Kenner on Silverhawks, then LJN on Tiger Sharks, and I'm like, okay, well I don't know why LJN passed, but they did, and it's forever bugged me. So, but I know they went to happy homes. So
perfect. Well, just before we move on to the next subject and bits and pieces, Super 7's just released their Ultimate Thunder Tank. Being a Thundercats collector, and I know you're a Super 7 guy, are you getting that tank in, or would you consider it, or too big?
No, I don't. I did own a couple of the Ultimates, but literally a couple. I owned the glow in the dark Mumra, and I owned the frozen color changing Lion-O.
Yes.
And as much as I admire Super 7's work, and I do, because it's you can't say that they don't that they don't know what they're doing, because they do know what they're doing, because they wouldn't be where they were if they didn't.
No.
And anybody that says, "Oh, this company doesn't know, their ass and their elbow," and I'm like, well, they're the ones with like every license in the world right now, except Star Wars. So, they're literally the only licenses they don't have are Star Wars, Marvel, and DC, and they've got everything else, including G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Yeah, they've even done wrestling figures, is it? Or
yeah, exactly. So I kind of look at that and I go, so they know what they're doing. But to me, I mean, those vehicles are just humongous. And I get why they do them, because who doesn't want to make something that's ginormous? Because it's just the kind of thing that you always wanted when you're a kid. But it's not for me.
No.
That's about as far as I'm going to go with it. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, when I met you, I can't remember. I've known you for ages.
Long time.
Yes, but I remember, like, I went to a toy fair once, and you were selling off all your Turtles, Ultraman, and bits and pieces to fund now what you were known as NEMA Studios. Is it?
That's right. Yeah.
So how did NEMA Studios all start? I know it all started off from you. If you wanted to say build your own company, how would you actually go about doing it, Nick?
We were a company anyway that was called Floston Paradise, which was a retailer, and we sold a lot of Super 7 and a lot of import stuff like Boss Fight Studio when Boss Fight Studio wasn't readily available. Super 7 wasn't readily available. Some more niche stuff as well, like a Mock Time and bits like that. And the goal was always to make my own toys.
Yeah.
That was always the goal. Was we're going to sell it. We're going to sell it to people. It's going to be cool. We're going to do this. We're going to set up. We're going to be a trader. Have some fun. Do a lot of long hours, etc., etc. Go to Comic Cons, toy fairs, blah blah blah. Yes, great. But the goal was always to make my own toys. Always. Because it had always been the thing I always wanted to do. So when we came to the crunch and we were like, okay, well what do we do there? Well, for starters, we were like, well, we can't put Floston Paradise on the box or on the card or whatever, because, you know, that belongs to Luc Besson, and that's the Fifth Element and all that kind of stuff. And it's, as far as I'm aware, Floston Paradise is a trademarked entity as well, which is at the time it was kind of like, I can't do that, so we're gonna change the name. So this is when we came up with NEMA Studios, which was it kind of came about as we were finalizing the artwork for our first release, which we'll get to in a minute. Yeah. But I did what anybody does when you know, when you're gonna make a toy. I go, okay, well, I'm gonna make a toy, so what will I do? So I'll Google it. I'll YouTube it. I'll ask people.
Yeah.
And you sat there going, okay, so what do I do then? How do I do this? Because if I want to do this, nobody seems to want to tell me how I do this. So you start kind of like piecing this together, and you start digging, and you start like, you're on like the 20th page of Google, and you'll find an article thread, and you'll go, okay, well, I'll go from that, and then that'll direct you to some YouTube video that's got like 10 views on it. It's never going to come up in a search ever. No. You know what I mean? And you got all this kind of stuff, and you end up eventually kind of like you're mapping out the process, or what you think is the process at that point. And then that obviously takes you on your merry way to China, because that's where you go, isn't it? Hey, I'm going to make a toy. I'm going to go to China. You know, I want to go to Japan, but I can't go to Japan because Japan's like all the money, like all the money. Like if China is a lot of the money, like Japan is all the money, and it's so much money, and you'll never get into Japan. You just can't. Like the toy makers there, you know, like the independent toy makers in Japan, those boys and girls, they're just they're like garage outfits, and they made like 200 toys. Like, I'll make like 50 units of this for you, and it'll take a year. Well, I make 50 units of something else, you know, and then these things, you'll need to sell them for like £200 each, but they'll be the most beautiful pieces of art in the whole world. And it's like, oh, it's not really going to work. So you go to China, you know, because that's where you go. And of course, you quickly learn when you're dealing with the Chinese and Chinese factories that they are not very forgiving. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They're great in terms of how efficient they are, but that efficiency costs, and it costs big. And the thing is that we tried. I mean, we paid out to have the prototypes done, and this is before, 3D sculpting was not a
thing.
I don't want to say a thing, because it's not really a thing now, and it's not like it's easily accessible. It seems more easily accessible from where I am, because that's my world.
Yes.
But like 3D sculpting is not really a massively accessible thing even now. But like 4 years ago, it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't accessible in any way, shape, or form. So you would kind of go, okay, well, I need to get something designed first so I can send it over to this Chinese factory and they can kind of sculpt it and turn it into a real thing. And that's where Theo came into the equation. Because Theo, we needed an artist that could map out toys, because you try telling an artist, draw me a character. Okay, cool. I'll take this idea that you've got and I'll make this a character. And then you try turning around to the artist and say, no, don't draw me the character, draw the toy.
Yes.
I need you to, you're not drawing the character as it would be. I need you to draw the toy. Draw the toy, and draw the front and the back and the side views. So I can send this and then they can turn this into a sculpture. And we did that with China, and we got the 3D prototypes back, and it was like, oh my God, it was like a dream come true. And then when we had to raise money for tooling, etc. And of course, China's telling us it's going to be all this money and all this stuff, and it's going to cost so much and X amount. And it was in the thousands. It was thousands and thousands and thousands. And it was like, well, okay, how am I going to raise that money? Because I was determined at this point that was going to happen. And I basically then kind of went on and like sold, as you say, I sold my collection to kind of like make this happen in the most part. And we had these things tooled, and and this is where the original Duck Boy vinyl toys came from. And while we were doing that, and that we were working that out, the whole kind of idea came up of doing an 8-inch vinyl figure. There would be this like big giant like Motu style thing that was like inspired by Speckletron Deathlore. And this was another conversation that me and Theo had, and we were like, what if we did this? This would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? So while we were doing the Duck Boy thing, we started designing that same process, had that tooled, and then we kind of took that 3D prototype that we had on tour to get the funding to get it made, and we got most of it, but not all of it. So we ended up putting in a chunk ourselves. And we were off to a bit of a flyer. We were starting to get going, and things were kind of like doing what they needed to do. We were going, oh, this is great. And then it was like November 2019, and things started to get really sporadic, because you're coming up to Chinese New Year, and Chinese New Year, it's difficult to get things out of China before that, because everybody wants to get their product out before Chinese New Year, because obviously they shut down for a month. And China are really good at, like, as I say, they're very efficient. It's an efficient way of doing things. It's very linear. So it's like, you contact them, you get that response back. That's what happens. So you pay for that service, but you get that response back. And things started to get sporadic. And things started to not be as open. And lines of communication weren't happening, and we were like, "What's going on?" So we knew something was wrong. We fortunately managed to get our product out, because like we went from like every day we could happily talk to China, and it went from that to like twice a week, and we were going, what's going on? And then suddenly, we got our product out, and it was in transit, and it was over, and it was overseas, and it was here. And then of course things started to go wrong in January, didn't they? January 2020,
Yeah.
things started to go very, very wrong, and things started to not happen at all. And you know, we then ended up like February 2020 when Chinese New Year happened, and they didn't go back from Chinese New Year. It was like, oh my God, what's happening? And of course, March. I remember being at ToyCon UK down in London, and there was a queue outside that was not very big on the Saturday morning, and there was an air about this show that wasn't right. And we were at that show, and we opened and we did, and it died off in the afternoon. We were like, okay, we got the Sunday, it's all good. And literally, there was like 20 people. I may exaggerate, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
they were queuing up at first thing in the morning on the Saturday. They came in, they got what they wanted, and they left like straight away. And it was a dead zone. It was a ghost town. And it was this was like the designer art show. Anybody that's ever been to ToyCon knows you can't move in ToyCon UK.
No.
And it was dead. And they closed at like 12 o'clock on the Sunday because it was dead. We drove back. I remember like ringing my wife and saying, we're coming home. And she was like, just get home. Like the world is just going to shit. Just get home. We got home. And like literally 2 days later, we were in lockdown.
Yeah, 23rd of March. Yeah.
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 Horrendous. Yeah. And it was at that point, as I say, that literally the world changed. I mean, I think in so many ways for so many people, the world changed and it just kind of went a bit mental. And for us, as a toy company, when we realized that we realized that very, very quickly that we couldn't do what we wanted to do because we couldn't do it in China. There's no way we could do it in China. We thought, okay, well, what about moving to Vietnam? We can't move to Vietnam because basically all the factories in Vietnam are locked up tight by the majors. The majors have got Vietnam sewn up. It's like, okay, well, can't move to Vietnam. So now where do I go? What about there's other factories that are kind of like US and Europe. We tried, like, though it didn't work out. There was a few things that just didn't happen for us, and we were 6 months down the line, and we were going, we got no products, we got nothing to sell, we're not making anything. It takes God knows how long, it takes forever. What are we going to do? And we just said, well, we got to do something. Because we're not, and it was at this point we started looking for people that could injection mold over here.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody over here wants to do that. So eventually, we kind of said, well, okay, what if we do it? And because it was at that point, it was either we work out how we do this, or we don't do this at all. And I mean, you know me, Dave, and a lot of people know me, and that's like red rag at a bull to me. That's like going, oh, you can't do that here. And I'm like, why can't I? Why can't I?
Technically, it should be Nemo Studios, never give up.
Yeah. Never give up.
What you went through them like 6 months of bits and pieces, it must almost killed you.
It did almost kill us, and it was a killer trying to. I mean, it was a year nearly in total, and we were trying it with all the different moving around and everything. We were trying desperately to try and make things work and try and get certain stuff so we could make it happen. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
and we just couldn't make it work. And we were like, oh my God, there's got to be a way here. And as I say, eventually we just said, you know what? But if we can't do this ourselves, then I don't know what's going to happen here. So we eventually did. And we started looking into that. And that's a whole other thing. Yeah. That's a whole other story probably for another time when we've got more time.
So technically, moving on in bits and pieces where you are now, you're one of the few companies or the companies that make toys in the UK.
I always say, as far as I'm aware.
Yes.
Because I'm sure somebody is waiting to correct me at some point. And I always say, as far as I'm aware, I don't know of another micro toy factory in this country that's producing action. I don't know of anybody. If there is somebody out there, I'm not being disparaging. It's just that I don't know about you. So I'm really sorry that I don't know about you. But as far as I'm aware, we are the only one. There are other British-based toy companies,
but not made in the UK. They're made in
the United
Germany
Kingdom.
or Holland, or
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously got to shout out to Greg at Big Chief, because again, that man is doing the Lord's work when it comes to toys. Like that, fair play to him. I mean, those new 3 3/4 inch Jerry Anderson figures are the bomb. They are absolutely the bomb. And the stuff that he's been making forever, you know, the Big Chief Studio stuff is awesome. So, and he's often opposite me at the NEC. And he's great guy. So I've got to say, I'm never going to sit here and go, we're the only ones in the United Kingdom. No. We're not. We're absolutely not. And we're nowhere near in the same league as Greg and Big Chief. But like, as far as I'm aware, we're the only ones that manufacture in this country. Yeah. So
there's quite a few UK toy companies based, but not toy makers like yourselves.
That's right. Yeah.
So technically, then with the Duck Boy, you started with Duck Boy, and then is it the Deflatron?
Deflatron it went to then, yes, which then spawned Novatron. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Deflatron. I remember Pixel Dan came out and said, "Any of you guys seen this big 8-10 inch Deflatron?" And I was like, "I've still got it carded in my other room. I wish I'd picked it out for tonight." It's still that one figure that I just like, with the poster with it and everything else. Like you said, you want to see a little figure on a big, massive card.
Yes, that's it. Well, that was always our thing, wasn't it? That it was kind of like we gave it a 14 by 10 card, because the idea was when you were a kid, you had like the Playmates turtle, and it was massive because you were like tiny. So that was the whole point. It was like, this is a big 8-inch figure. Let's card it and do it what it deserves. That was the plan, anyway.
So technically, those are the two first you started. Then you went into other lines like, is it Fiendish Feet? I remember you having the Wimpy toy.
Yeah.
You had other toy lines?
When we first came over here, when we first started manufacturing here, Deflatron and subsequently Jawbone.
Yeah.
In the big
Jawbone is the glow in the dark one, is it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Stupidly short run, that thing, like 35 units. So like Jawbone and Deflatron spawned a line called Novatron.
Yes.
Novatron went 3 3/4 inch 5 POA retro style. So they were the first things that were made here in this country.
Have you got any to hand, Nick?
Oh, now then. I actually haven't got any of the
Okay, don't worry.
I actually haven't got any of those to hand. Because they're pretty much all gone now, apart from ones that we have in our archive.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got the 3 3/4 inch Novatron figures. They were cool, man. They were awesome. 9x6 blisters and the standard Star Wars aesthetic. And after that, there was a few things that happened. Like Duck Boy came next, because Duck Boy is like, even though we've got flagship brands, Duck Boy's the OG.
Yes.
So like Duck Boy came next, and he came in. We kind of went from vinyl toy to 3 3/4 inch. So, and he's actually more 3.5 now. Him I have got, because there he is. So we got 3 3/4 inch style Duck Boy there, which again we gave him the 9x6, and I love this figure. But I'm biased.
He is amazing still.
He's a great figure, isn't he? He's fantastic. Yeah. So we've got that, and that's when we kind of we done Duck Boy and we done Novatron. So we were like, well, what can we do next? And we were looking for something that was like archetypally 90s and gross out, you know. And again, it was a conversation that we had with Theo, where Theo was like, "Have you thought about Fiendish Feet?" And I'm like, now there's a name I've not heard for a long time. And we went looking like on Fiendish Feet, and we went trying to find where it was and who it was and who owned it, and eventually we came to this whole thing, and it was like we could just buy this. We don't need to license it. We can just buy Fiendish Feet, and that was the most surreal thing in the whole world. Because we just
which is basically Fiendish Feet's yogurt pots back in the day. Just yogurt pots you used to find, yogurt pots in the fridge, just like weird little yogurt. Which is they're still doing it today, but ice creams like ducks and that sort of stuff.
It was basically just flavors of yogurt. They came in a yogurt pot that had feet on the yogurt pot, and they were screen printed with a monster on them. And you had like the first 4 that came out were Spooky Wookie, Rattle and Roll, Frankenstein, and Fangs-a-Lot. So we took this concept of this yogurt pot and we made it into a 2-inch action figure. Now the original pots don't have arms. Yep. They're just a pot. There's the yogurt pot. But I was like, we've got to give these things arms so that, you know, they work. Otherwise, it's not an action figure then, is it? It can't hold a weapon. It can't do anything. It's not an action figure. It's just a piece of plastic. So, yeah, so we gave them arms. Now, that's since developed. We've done 3 waves of these. There's 3 waves of Fiendish Feet. There's a vehicle as well, which we're out of stock of at the moment, which is awesome. But it's on our website if you want to have a look at it. It's called the Fangula, which is this like hot rod, and it's made out of a coffin. It's got the engines on the front. It's got this big bat head on the front. It's proper 90s, you know. So there's that, which is just awesome. And then there's 3 waves of these, and then we've also done this thing called Fiendish Feet Monsters, which is Fiendish Feet Monsters is where they were like, right, in the initial, this pot is the features of a monster that's been translated into a yogurt pot. So let's translate it back into a monster and see what that monster now looks like now it's been a yogurt pot. Right, so we did something called Fiendish Feet Monsters. So this is Fangs-a-Lot here, and this is Count Fangs-a-Lot.
1 second.
So there's you see how you've got the corresponding details there. So there you've got like this is your pot, this is your Count Fangs-a-Lot, and you can see that they kind of mirror each other.
Oh, that's crazy.
And we've done that with quite a few of them as well. We've done that. So there's one that's Howling Wolf, which is the werewolf pot. Well, he got turned into like a greaseball biker.
And that's all exclusive your designs, Nick?
Yeah. This is actually we actually have done a lot of this with Gavin.
Yes.
From Leicester Vintage. Yes, the very talented Gavin Lee Pate has been doing a lot with us on this. And there's Frankenstein as well.
Oh, unbelievable. I've seen him in pictures, but to see him in person like that is unbelievable.
Yeah, so we've got those. So those something we've been working. There's 3 of those at the moment. And we've got they come in a box like this that mimics the original yogurt pot front, you see.
Yep. Oh.
So that's kind of where those are at the moment. They've been popular. There's going to be more of those as we go. So that was Fiendish Feet. As it's progressed on, you know, we've got like, for example, new Duck Boy stuff.
Oh man.
You know, there's new Duck Boy stuff there as it's kind of progressed on. We'll get to what's new. Novatron kind of spawned from being like 8-inch down to 3 3/4 inch. And then I got something in my head that said, I want them to be 4.5-inch Playmate style because they had that stance to them.
Yeah.
So we started to make them in Playmate style. And that's when that's when it's gotten really like really deep, because those, they struck a chord with folk. They really did. They really struck a chord with folk, and like you can see that in that scale, they've really started to kind of come into their own. I never know where the camera goes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They've really started to come into their own.
Yeah.
At 4.5 inches tall. Now, wave 5 of these is out in March. That's how deep we now are. And there's not just been just figures with these. There's a playset. There's creatures.
Whoa.
So there's creatures. So that's the cave dragon. So there's creatures. There's playsets. We even did one at Christmas, which was the most amazing thing in the whole world, which was a 2-pack, which was Santa versus Krampus. in this style, in it's like Santa's got an armor plate on him, and it's brilliant. It's fantastic. So that's been so much fun doing those, and I love working on the Novatron line because it is just epic fun to do. We did, for those of you who like your real deep cuts, like real deep cuts. There was a toy line that I had when I was a kid called Cosmic Cowboys.
Yes.
Made by Ackerman's Toys in Nottingham. And I really wanted to remake these things because I was like, why don't these things exist anymore? And again, it was an IP that when we looked into, we were able just to buy it. So we did buy it, and we produced some figures and stuff. And like, for example, I mean, a lot of you'll know Iron Jaw from Cosmic Cowboys. So that again is a 4.5 inch Iron Jaw figure from Cosmic Cowboys.
Whoa. The detail on the paintwork is that is amazing.
Yeah. I know my business partner and better half is the painter. So that's all her handiwork.
That's unbelievable.
So that's Iron Jaw, and the one thing I'm going to say about this as well is that we teamed up with the guy, if anybody knows their indie comics, Beyond the Bunker, who did the Moon comics, Steve Penfold. He is a phenomenal artist, and we teamed up with him, and they did Cosmic Cowboys.
Oh.
So Cosmic Cowboys now exists as a comic book, and this is the thing you can buy this right now, and it is the artwork is legit. I'm not going to show it to you. Go buy it because it's a really, really good read. It's a really, really good read. So yeah, get on that. I mean, obviously, like Duck Boy. Duck Boy. We've done Dragon Riders of the Styx as well, which that was another property that we managed to get hold of. And like that's the Demon Rider. One of the first ones with wings that we ever did.
Whoa.
Some great. So we got again 4.5 inch, but there's a lot of stuff out there, as I say, that we've done. That's all very cool and whatever. But I think what really kicked us off, we've done Fiendish Feet. We had plans for, as you said before, Mr. Wimpy, the Muncher, which is the Chewits dragon. We did Astra from the Space Raiders, Chris.
Yeah.
All of that. But what really, apart from Fiendish Feet, put us on the map, I would say, because people knew who we were and whatever. But the thing that really, really sent people mental was this guy.
1 second.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll take it as a good thing.
Yeah.
But this is the guy. This is the guy that put us on the map.
Trapdoor.
The Trapdoor.
Yeah. I always said grot bags. I like grot bags, but that's just me.
Grot bags was awesome, and it was so much fun to make grot bags. And it really was. It was great fun to make grot bags. But the Trapdoor, this little dude I remember when we showed people we were making this, dude, and people just went mental. yeah, exactly. Well, we took this to the NEC Toy Fair, and people were like,
Yeah.
"You're doing what?" And I was like, "Burke," and they were like, "You're doing what?" And it just people just went crazy. They went crazy for it, and it's a crazy. I'm hoping people are going to match next week, if I'm honest, because we'll get onto that now. So that the trapdoor kind of led to us going down that nostalgia route, and we were talking a lot about nostalgia stuff, and we were chatting about, what can we do and how can we do it, and what is it that we can do. And we were getting, the thing is, it's quite interesting because you get people who talk to you and they say, oh, you should do this, or you should do that, or you should do the other, or you should do this, and a lot of the time you're already working on it, but you can't say that you're already working on it. I've got something that I'm working on at the moment that I still can't say I'm working on. And I've been working on it now for like 9 months, and I still can't say I'm working on it. I can't come out and go, oh, I'm doing this. And like, April time, you're going to see this, and you never ever think you're going to get a figure of this, but you're going to get a figure of this. And then you're going to get a different version of that figure, and even that's going to blow your mind. But I can't tell you that. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. It's one of the things with toy companies and toy bits. They don't want to spoil the cherry on the cake until the cherry's cooked, or the cherry's got that sugar coating on or something, just in case you could pop your clogs tomorrow and that figure will probably never be done.
Well, I hope I don't.
Yeah, but you just never know, do you? Or you could have like a.
I think the thing is we've done stuff before though where we'd lost, we've been like deep into negotiation. It's not happened.
And the last minute they pull out in the last dying seconds when you're about to say, "Oh, tomorrow's the big announcement." It's like, sorry, it's like, yeah.
Well, there were people saying to us like last year, they were going, "You should do Chilton and the Wheelies." And I'm going, oh yeah, really cool. And at that point, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm already working on it. It's like, and I'm kind of going, I'm like, we're already working on this. We're already working on Chilton and the Wheelies. And then, of course, there was people at Christmas. In fact, before Christmas, staff at Toy Fair, oh, you should really do Chilton and the Wheelies. It would be really good for you to do Chilton and the Wheelies. And I'm kind of going, and I'm like, I know I should. I am doing it at the moment. But you can't say anything.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want to start saying things until you've got something concrete that you can show people.
It's like back in last time you was on, I mentioned to you Robin Hood Sherwood, the old 80s, 90s TV series that had 4 seasons.
Yeah.
It's like they've never been done as a toys, but there's so many characters back then that you could have done.
Yeah, and it's like I mean, I don't know how many people have seen an announcement that we made, God knows how long ago. But like, for example, I had a guy at the stand today and was going, oh, one of my favorite things that people should bring back is Crystar, as in Crystal Warrior. Yes. And I'm like, well, if anybody's going to do that, that's me, because I own it. And he kind of looked at me and went, what? And I'm like, we own Crystar. We actually do have the IP for Crystar. And we will be putting Crystar out later this year. It'll be coming in the 4.5-inch versions that matches the Novatron stuff. But Crystal Warrior is something that we already have. But getting back on track, I mean, yeah, as I say, we were chatting about, what do we do and how do we do and where do we go and what do we do with it? And obviously Chilton and the Wheelies was something that we were like, yeah, let's get on this and let's see where this goes. But as I'm sure you can imagine, there are certain things that you get asked for.
Yeah, all the time with a toy company,
yeah. All the time. Aside from, can you make my toy for me?
Yeah.
There are certain things that you get asked for all day, every day. Literally just
Nick, can you do a Star Wars, please?
You what? Sorry.
Can you do Star Wars for us?
We did.
Yes.
We did Ewoks figures.
Yeah.
That were very niche. And people are going, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's an Ewoks figure." From the Ewoks movie. It's a deep cut. And the thing is, we found that people were saying, well, with the stop motion thing, with British stuff, people just left, right, and centre were saying, "Can you do Danger Mouse?" And it's like, no, we can't. Can you do this? Can you do that? And of course, the one that everybody keeps asking for because there were no proper toys, and I myself had the little PVC figures, like I think everybody else did, that are now a small fortune. The one that everybody was asking for was Count Dracula.
Yeah.
Can we get Count Dracula? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, can we get Count Dracula? I want Count Dracula. When can we have Count Dracula? And I'm like, I don't know how many ways I can say, like, no, or how many ways I can lie to you, to your face, by going, no, we can't. Well, actually, I'm desperately trying, kind of thing. And yeah. And of course, like last week, we were like, "You're getting Count Dracula," and people kind of lost their minds. So when the what now? And it's like, yeah, you're getting Count Dracula.
I remember Leicester Vintage Toys did a tour around the UK, and they had a couple. Is it the Count Dracula or one of the Dracula figures on card?
Yeah, the little vinyl clip thing is weird.
And that sold out with that company so quickly. You wish they'd bought more.
They're nuts. They're absolutely nuts.
They went Leicester just like ridiculously sold them out that quick. I'm like,
crazy.
Yeah,
they're crazy, and it's crazy. So basically, what I'm going to say to you is this: I'm going to say this now, and there'll be full details coming either tomorrow or Tuesday. But basically, next Friday is the pre-order. This coming Friday is the pre-order. There is an extremely limited number of these. All right, it's a 3-pack. They're not individual. It's a 3-pack, and it's Igor, Nanny, and Dracula. They're the 3 figures. We will obviously show you the renderings of them before. We're not expecting you to buy blind, okay? But these are the 3. They're in a 3-pack. They're not coming individually carded or anything like that. They're in a box set, okay? Basically, what's going to happen here is there's an extremely limited number. They will go on sale on Friday, and it's going to be a case of there will be a pre-order window. There won't be a case of they're going to be open and available, and for as long as they go. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. What happens is they go on sale, and there's a very short number, okay? And what's going to happen is it's going to be a case of we'll announce when the pre-order window is 2, and it's going to be a case of whichever one they get to first in terms of sales. If they get to the number and they sell out, they're sold out. If they get to the end of the pre-order without reaching that number, then they'll still get made, but then they'll shut. What I've got to stress on this is that there might well be opportunity in the future to get more of them. There might well be opportunity to get them in person from us, because naturally we will have stock. I want to just put that out there, that we are not going to not make these and then have stock of these ourselves, because why would we?
Yeah.
But once that window shuts, in terms of whether it's the pre-order amount, as in like the amount they've got, or the window, once it shuts, there's no more online.
Unless you go to the like you said, like the NEC Toy Fair, the Sundowns, the Barry Passes.
But even then, it's going to be limited.
Yeah, it might be 1 or 2 set, maybe 1 set per show, and that's it. First come, first serve.
It's finite.
Yeah,
it will be finite. Yeah, it will absolutely be finite. But that's what I've got to say here is I've got to say that like the numbers are short, and I'm not talking single digits here, and I'm not talking double digits, but I'm not talking 4 digits either.
You're looking like a triple digit triple digit then?
We're talking less than 300.
Yeah.
There's going to be less than 300 sets, even if that, to be honest, because we're still finalising.
But like you said, if your windows say open at 10 o'clock, shuts at 12 o'clock.
Well, it won't be that. It won't be that.
Yeah.
It'll be the window. It'll be a case of like, we'll launch on Friday, and you'll have 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, or
unless you get up to 300 before that.
Unless they hit that number. And that's that. I say I'm using hypothetical numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's 300 units. I'm not saying there's 50 units. I'm not saying there's 10 units. What I'm saying is there's a very low number. So if you want that number, if you want to be in one of those people that's going to get this 3-pack, you need to be online at 6 o'clock next Friday.
Is that PM or AM?
That's PM.
PM, perfect.
Or
and that's on NemaStudios.com, is it?
NemaStudios.com. Yeah, that's when you're going to need to be available.
Perfect.
Because that's when it's going to go live.
Will the toys be numbered as well?
No, they won't. But it's there's a whole other thing.
Yeah. The other question I've probably got to ask, Nick, will they be painted as normal colours, or will you be doing like occasionally I'll see you like doing a white render or a different colour? Is it their normal colours, full coloured like you see in the CV?
Yeah, they'll be the full hit. They'll be the full hit. They'll be as per the show.
Perfect.
So you're gonna get them. You're gonna get figures, as I say, that are the 3.
Yeah, the main 3 of the series, the main 3.
Main 3 that you need.
Yeah. So technically, everyone will be hashtagging Nema Studios or Count Duckula just after this saying.
I don't know what's gonna happen with it. If I'm
honest.
Yeah.
And there'll be the 4.5-inch scale.
I'm not gonna reveal too much at this point.
But we get more images during this week on Nema Studios or Nick's.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the thing is with that, they're gonna be. If you look at the size of the stuff that we make that is in that scale, it's going to be around that 4.5 inch. Because the thing is, they're around that scale anyway, but they're obviously different sizes. Because Nanny obviously is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
But they're just what I'd say is that they're gonna be amazing. There's something that we are really excited about doing naturally because it's spectacular. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things. I say I don't want people to miss out, but at the same time, I also don't want people to be under any illusion that this is something that can. It's like Trapdoor. It will be available forever because no, it won't.
Yes.
No, it won't. And I mean, the other thing as well is that I would say is that if you're into that thing and you're into the animation stuff and you're into that British nostalgia with Charlton and the Wheelies, Charlton himself, again, comes out pre-order next Friday at 6 o'clock. And he is a limited run to start. So he's going to be a scenario. If you want that thing, you want Charlton to continue and you want more Charlton on the Wheelies fans, he's got to sell. And he's got to sell well. Because it's one of again, we get that a lot where, you go, I'd love to collect these, but, I've got other focuses, but it's amazing and carry on doing it. And it's like, well, we can't carry on doing it if people aren't collecting it.
So that's through Nema Studios. You do ship all around the world as well, don't you, Nick?
We do worldwide, yep.
So technically, all you need to do, guys, is check out NemaStudios.com. Just find out. So there'll be this Friday and the next Friday with the 2 announcements from Nick.
Well, no, it's all both of them are this Friday.
So this Friday, 6 p.m. GMT time, which is 5 o'clock in America, bog standard time. Australia, I can't remember. But yes, we're almost coming up to the hour, Nick. We are just about hitting the hour mark.
Okay.
So last couple of questions, because I know you've been to the toy fair all day, and I know you're tired and have got that sniffles.
I have, apologies.
Don't worry, the dreadful sniffles.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions for the Nema Studio side. anything you would have done differently? Because I know you had the pandemic done differently. Anything you could have done differently? Or
I probably, when hindsight's a wonderful thing, I probably would have produced here from the start.
yeah,
If I'm
perfect.
honest.
Perfect.
I probably
Easy
would have
enough.
produced things here from the very beginning. So,
You know, everyone keeps asking anything for the future, anything you want to say or do for the future. Or I know honestly, there's a few toy lines you'd love to get, but it's like money, licensing, and everything else, which we'll cover in another stream and bits and pieces.
I mean, I know that. I know I can tell you that we'll be revisiting Space Raiders. So we're going to be revisiting Space Raiders in the next couple of months. Because that was a fun project to work on, and it really was, and I enjoyed working on Astra. And of course, if you're a fan of those crisp packets, you know, that sounds ridiculous. So if you're a fan of the crisp packets, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Awesome aliens on them as well. There were other characters in that line, and I'm like, let's go there, kind of thing. I mean, there's even one where she's riding like a vehicle, and I'm like, let's absolutely go there, kind of thing. So, you know, that's happening. There's a lot of other stuff that's happening. I mean, the other thing I think very quickly, because I know you
go.
Novatron is obviously going to carry on. There's going to be a lot more with Novatron. We've got some really cool stuff happening with Novatron for Alien Day on the 'cause it's 426, is the 26th of April is Alien Day. And it's not what everybody thinks when they instantly think Alien Day, but there's some cool stuff happening for Alien Day with Novatron. I think the other thing that I'm really, really chuffed about, which I'll leave it with, is the fact that there's new Duck Boy material imminently. There hasn't been new written material. That was the original comic.
Yes.
Which was back in 2019. And there hasn't been new material since this 4 years ago. Well, there now is, and it's been finalized, and it's some short stories, and it's more written than it is comic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more detail in here. It's going to give you a lot more backstory to, because this is in anticipation of the full story coming out as a written entity, which is going to give you a lot more backstory. So there's literally new Duck Boy stuff happening. Like, I think if I'm right, I think I'm right. It's coming out at the Real Horror Film Festival, Rilla Thriller, in March.
Wow. So that was just the next question. What you got? What story? What shows you got coming up, Nick, in the next couple of months? You want to plug any of your shows or plug anything, Nick?
We will be at. I know we will be at. We'll be at, I say, Rilla Thriller, which is the Real Horror Film Festival. We've been invited to do a panel at that, and we're launching this new book, this new collection of Duck Boy stories, including because there's quite a few that are like horror themed in that universe, which is kind of cool. So that's happening the 11th of March. We're at Stafford Toy Fair on the 12th of March. Then it's all a bit quiet then, to be honest, because there's a little thing happening in London called Star Wars Celebration that I'm going down to as a pure fan to kind of go and bathe in Star Wars for 4 days. Obviously, then there's the NEC Toy Fair when we come back. Wales Comic Con, which is, even though I know it's in Telford, it's still our hometown show, so we still go. And it's very quiet at the moment in terms of conventions.
They all start up March, April, don't they?
Yeah, they do. So we'll have more to kind of share after that. But definitely, as I say, if you've got a chance to come down to the the horror festival in Brill. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I said we're doing a panel where we're talking.
Where is the horror festival again, Nick?
That I will need to. In terms of venue, I will need to actually look up.
Which city?
It's in Rill, which is the seaside town in North Wales.
Yeah. Sweet.
It's called Rilla Thriller. It's going to be a lot of fun. Chad's putting a massive amount of work into that. It's going to be a great weekend.
I might have a look into that. I might have a day out or a couple of days out.
Well
Sounds perfect.
Well worth it, because I know they've got some guests from Hellraiser, and they're showing Hellraiser in the evening and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a cool weekend.
Perfect. Anything else for you, Nick, coming up? You personally yourself, or anything coming up, or just taking it as it goes?
I'm just working, making toys, and just sounding like I'm bunged up to hell, and just kind of like just to do it. I say at the moment, just loving. I'll be honest, just loving the amount of quality sci-fi that we keep getting. Because I know Mando Series 3 is imminent. Picard started on Friday, which is just awesome. Strange New Worlds I recently watched as well, which is just epic. That's just total trek into the main vein, that one. I think for me personally, as I say, I like to unwind by watching or watching a lot of sci-fi or that kind of stuff, and there's just so much cool stuff happening. It's just brilliant. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Nick.
Not a problem, mate. Not a problem.
Even into your company, we'll probably get you on again in the future to talk more about your love of Duck Boy and how that started.
Love to.
And a few other bits and pieces. You can find Nick on, is it NewaStudios.com this Friday, 6 p.m.
Yep, NewaStudios.com this Friday, 6 p.m. If you
the two brand new toys.
Yeah.
We'll talk about going into toy fairs other than toy shows next time, because I know Nick's always up and down the fairs, up and down the country.
Yeah.
He does so many toys. He does ship around the world, guys. You can find me at DavidWorldToys on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. What you're watching, hopefully now. I'm just still doing my Star Wars month this month. And then next month, I've got a few things planned for the channel and bits and pieces.
Yep.
But Nick, I'm going to say good luck for the company for 2023.
Thank you.
I hope everything goes according to plan and goes without a hiccup.
We can hope.
It can't be as bad as you started. So, here's for the next 4, 5, 10 years or so. Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us in the chat. Universal Toy Collector, Aaron, G-Force, Orlando, Jubilee, is it name or something? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to everyone else as well. Guys, please stay safe, keep well. Don't forget, NemaStudios.com this Friday, 6 p.m. UK time. If you follow Nema Studios, you will be putting more pictures out this week.
Absolutely.
Nick, to stay there for 30 more seconds before I end it. So, guys, thank you so much. See you next Sunday. I will have another guest on next Sunday. I've got a retro guy coming on, which does comics, toys, games, and he's a collector as well.
Nice.
So next week will be another special guest. So, guys, thank you so much, and have a good week, guys. Thank you so much.